Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Quality QuaranTIME. My name is Alex Vander Johnson. Today we're going to be interviewing my uncle Danny. Professionally, he's known as J. Daniel Herring. He is a professor at Fresno State University in theater. We're going to be talking to him a little bit about, he's the one who introduced my parents actually, and he was also the officiate at my wedding recently. As a gay man, I'm going to talk to him about what that meant for him and just like with everybody else, how he got to where he is today, and maybe some of the deeper questions about being a gay man and what it was like to be gay in the generation that my parents were in. So yeah, let's talk to him now. Hello.
Hi, Alex. Oh, look, floral shirt.
Yes, I wore this actually just for you.
Oh, really?
It struck me as very Danny, so I was like, I'm gonna wear this for you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you holding up over there?
Crazy. It's just trying to do all of this stuff online with the university is just a little bit too overwhelming at some days. So, this is a great Zoom, but most of the time I'm like, please, I don't want to be on Zoom anymore.
Right. Can you show me around at all, or are you on a fixed?
Show me around a little bit.
Perfect.
Just deal with it. All right, let's see where we're going. Here working on a Disney puzzle.
Okay, nice. We've done quite a few puzzles. Hi, Joel.
Hi.
What is the puzzle? Can I see the puzzle?
Yeah, this is the ultimate puzzle right here.
Wow.
It's all Disney, vintage Disney posters.
Amazing.
So this is the other thing we have, and I think you remember the back area of our house where we have like a lot of eclectic lights hanging.
Yeah.
In the backyard.
Well, it looks nice. Did you guys have a party recently?
No, we just always keep this up, and we turn the lights on at night in order to just have some kind of festive lighting outside our windows.
Sure.
There's some lights up on the top of the fence so that the neighbors can even see the lights. So.
Well, that's nice. So something a little festive for them too.
Right.
Are you getting along with your neighbors?
Yeah. The one that we used to have issues with is no longer on the board, so we got rid of him.
Amazing. Now, you were the officiant at my wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, do you remember? Can you tell me a little bit about what it meant to you in the context of gay rights history? I mean, I know personally from being there and a little bit of what you shared during your sermon.
Did you think it was a little bit of a sermon?
I mean, you have a very church-like way about you for sure, but...
Right. I think, part of the meaning for me was not just the fact that obviously the biggest reason was it was you and our relationship, and certainly I wanted to do that for you and Tyler. But I think I would have probably in my history never thought, I don't know if I thought I might see like a gay wedding that was done sort of underground or whatever, but to actually perform a wedding or see a wedding that was, legalized, I think I don't know that I thought I would ever see that. So that was a huge thing for me, and made me even more nervous, I think, about doing it because I wanted to make sure it was done well, and that if I get this opportunity, I want to make sure that I'm saying things that mean something, obviously, to the two grooms, but also to the gay community, which you were a big help in helping sort of me frame that. And I think that was important. As I think I said, there was a time when people were wondering if they were going to live, and getting married was not even an option.
Right.
They were concerned were they going to die from AIDS.
And people were just fighting for the right to even visit their loved ones on their deathbed, and to now be able to have the full rights of marriage is something you mentioned as well.
Right, exactly. And that just wasn't, I think back and I see films now and I go, oh my God, that's right. The people who had, made commitments, whatever you want to call those commitment ceremonies that were going on, that still didn't give their partner the right to visit them in the hospital or have any legal, ramifications with their partner at all. So I think that was, getting to do that. It was more meaningful on so many levels for, I think, me and probably you and Tyler,
Mm-hmm.
And anyone else that was there that was also gay. I think that was something that they probably, if they had witnessed it before, was thinking, oh my God, we really have moved forward. Because I didn't know I would ever see this, or certainly not be the one who officiated the ceremony. So
Right, right. Now, with the pandemic, is there any sort of like, does it trigger any sort of like PTSD for you with, having gone through the AIDS epidemic?
Oh, absolutely. I think the thing that's interesting to me about it, Alex, is that I think the AIDS epidemic, I hate to say this, but I feel like most of society could say, oh, I'm not affected by that.
Mm,
So let's see what happens to those people.
right.
Those sinners, in some words, might have been used, or
Mm-hmm.
those people who were going against God, or whatever their thoughts were.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like now it's almost like, okay, everybody now should know what it felt like to the gay community when the AIDS epidemic hit. We were scared for our lives. We
Right.
didn't know who we had been in contact with. We didn't know anything about incubation period. We didn't know anything, just like we don't know now. And I think the people that maybe lived through that time period, I hope they're reflecting, if they had a sense of, oh, this is not about me,
Mm-hmm.
this is about them. I hope that they now are looking back and thinking maybe it was about all of us and not just them.
Right.
That's the thing I've been thinking about, is that I kind of hope that that's sort of happening. But yeah, you're right, it is scary. But at that time, what was interesting, Alex, is that the only thing that closed down were, gay baths and gay institutions that they felt like were causing the epidemic to spread.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, this time everybody's having to deal with that.
Right.
And so hopefully, I don't know, I'm hoping that people maybe can reflect back and have a different heart about what that was like.
Right. What were some of the coping strategies that you used back when everyone was going through that in the 80s? This has been such a stressful time, and like I've been having a hard time sleeping, and like and then I'm tired through the whole day, and then it's like, but then I've got this like thin layer of anxiety over everything that I do, and honestly, like this is one of the only things that like helps me,
Sure.
you know.
I feel like I have the same exact symptoms that you probably are saying, what a lot of people are feeling. And I think during that time period, and I remember when certain friends and you would talk to them, and I think the real sanity came from when you did know someone and you could talk to them and see what was happening in terms of how they were being taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
At the time when it first broke out, there weren't the meds, there weren't the things that were going on. So what you were really scared of is you were absolutely scared that there was nothing you could do if you already had contracted it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really, to kind of deal with that, was just difficult. And I think I had a couple of friends who were very honest and upfront right at the beginning. And I remember them being so very honest and talking about it with me.
Mm-hmm.
That somehow helped me, because the fear is when you don't know what in the heck is going on.
Right.
And when you can get more information, and I remember, just terms on TV that would just depress the heck out of you, like the gay plague. That's
right.
what it's called.
Right.
Who wants to hear that? Like it's a plague on you because you're gay, not, yeah.
Right.
So,
right. Not affecting. Right.
I think that just being with your fellow gay community and just hearing truth from people that were dealing with it, I think that was the only way to cope.
Right. Well, and one of the things that amazes me about your generation is that you also didn't have the support of your parents. I mean, Did did you ever come out to your parents?
I would say no in the terms of I forget what the conversation was my mother and I had, and she said to me, "I don't know what I did bringing you up, that because you're such a good person and blah blah blah, and all of these other positive things
Mm-hmm.
that
Wow.
you didn't do anything. I am who I am." And then if at that point she said, "Well, I'm never going to talk about this again," and she doesn't to this
Wow.
day. And
Wow.
as proud of me, Alex, as your mother is of you. I mean, it's so
Right.
interesting. So it hasn't changed how she feels about me, but she doesn't want to deal. She doesn't want to vocalize it. If anything ever comes up that's a little bit like
Mm-hmm.
in our conversations, she'll say something, like, "Oh, well, I won't bring that up again. Oh, I won't talk about that again." So, when the don't ask, don't tell thing was going on with the military,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, that's my family. Don't
Mm.
ask, don't tell. It's all
Mm-hmm.
right that we know, but just don't talk about it.
Right. Well, one of the greatest lessons that I've actually learned from you is this is going to feel like a little bit of a transition, but it's connected, I promise. But one of the greatest lessons that I learned from you is you told me one time about there was this guy who ghosted you in Los Angeles. I believe it was Los Angeles. And you went up to him and you confronted him on the dance floor and you said something like, "Don't ever do that to anybody again." And something that you taught me in my very early days of dating and whatnot is you taught me to always be upfront about how I feel and to never, first of all, to never do that to somebody, and also to not put up with it when somebody does it to you. Where, you know, where does your sense of self worth come from? Because for me, I've confided so much in my mom. How did you rely on yourself, and where did that sense of self worth come from?
Well, let me just make sure I correct that. It was actually Louisville.
It was Louisville. Okay, okay.
But all the rest of the story is exactly right. But I think that, I mean, my father was very strong. My mother was very strong. My grandmother was extremely strong personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I was around that. It just may not have been the same world. They were conservative and all of these things. And I don't know where my liberal, I think I was born liberal, Alex, because I, as a kid, could not understand the racism in Virginia. I could not understand it.
Mm.
Something I knew in my heart was wrong about the racism that I witnessed in Virginia. I just knew something was wrong. I will say it was my education. I think it was teachers that gave me that self-worth in high school. I had 3 teachers that were specifically involved with me as a theater student. And I think that the 3 of them instilled that self-worth in me to the point that everything I did and went home and said to my parents, "This is what I'm going to do," was because of the influence of those 3 people.
It's interesting, going off of one of the earlier points you just made of being born liberal. It's interesting you say that because I actually do think like with the time period that you and my mom grew up, there was so much that was happening in civil rights. And I think that about young people now, where it's like when you're young, you don't necessarily take your parents' word for it. You are also watching what's happening and you're making your own decision. I think there's a lot of young people now who are looking at what's happening, and despite their parents being conservatives or whatever, the arguments are being made for themselves, and people are going to, the young people especially, are going to be affected by this and make a decision and have there's, because I think there's an inherent sense of right and wrong.
Right.
When did you learn that racism was real?
Well, I always knew it was real because of my family. Oh Lord, there's so many stories. And here's a story, Alex, that is not a fun story to tell. But when I was, I can't remember what grade I was in, but it was when George Wallace, if you know your history of the South, ran for president. He was the governor of Alabama. Huge racist. I mean, whole 9 yards. Now, maybe I don't know if he changed before his death or whatever happened. But at that time when he ran for president, I still was too young to understand what that meant. And I wanted a bumper sticker, and I put it on my book satchel, whatever you want to call it, that we carried back then. And I then was accosted by, rightly so, probably, some African American boys in high school. Now, I was an elementary school student. Again, I don't remember what. And they ripped that off of my satchel and kind of tore the satchel. And of course, I go home distraught that this had happened. And of course, my family was outraged and went to the school, and it was not fun. But I remember thinking that I think that I knew that I shouldn't have put that on there because it was saying a message that I didn't want to share. And that's a story that stayed with me all of my life because I knew that we had done something that was not right as well. Even though that was my personal property, I was, putting out a symbol that said to those people, I don't believe you're worth anything. And that's not what I, as a kid, was trying to say.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, and you could feel that what they felt in that moment was genuine and real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That they weren't just bullies.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reason they were hurt the way they were hurt.
Right.
And decided to take that action. Might not have been the best appropriate action to take on a little elementary kid, but I understood somehow that the reason they responded the way they did was because of what this man stood for.
Right. Well, and they didn't hurt you.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. So
his name. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Now, something I also mentioned at the beginning is you introduced my parents.
Yes, I did.
Were you because gay rights and our attitudes towards gay people are in such a different place today, was there ever a time where you worried about whether or not you were going to be included in your friends' lives and your friends' children's lives the way that you have been?
I don't think I ever worried about like your mother or your father or people that I was really close to. I knew that they'd somehow deal with it because I wasn't out to your mom. And now they might have thought and figured when I was in grad school with them, but I didn't come out in grad school. I didn't come out until I got to Louisville, Kentucky, and I was 25 or 27.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't come out until I was in my late 20s. So in grad school, I didn't, come out to them.
Wow. When did you come out to them? Did you ever have like an official like sit down, or was it just
party? No, your mother didn't throw me a coming out party. How dare you? Coming out party. No, I don't even remember.
When did you first think that I might be gay?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I was trying to like in my brain go. I don't know, Alex. I think I always sort of knew when you were certainly older. I mean, obviously when you're a baby, you don't know. But I think when you first started maybe coming to stay with me and visit me in the summers, I think I knew. And your love, I've got to pull these out now. Your love of Beanie Babies. But there was just things. You had these hanging on your backpack when you got off the plane. Not these two, but
right.
You gave me as gifts.
Because you love black and white.
That's right. And this is Dottie, and this is Ziggy, and I still have them. So
sweet.
I don't know. They were a little sensitive. You also were so sensitive about babies and mothers, and I don't know. There was something about that. Mm-hmm. Also, your observation of things. Even as a child, I just picked up on it. And I remember having a discussion. I don't know if you remember Raymond, my college roommate, or not, but I remember I think I've told Marcus this story too, and we were having a conversation once, and I said, well, I think Mary Beth and Tony, and I said, if anyone in this world is going to have a gay son, thank God it's Tony and Mary Beth. And I didn't mean that as a, I meant that as a good thing because I knew that they would handle it. And look at you now.
Yes.
So I just, but you know what? Raymond said to me, he said, "Oh, I think Marcus is going to be the gay one." I said, "I think you're crazy," and so I was right.
You were right.
I was right.
You were right. You won the bet. Sorry, Raymond. Yeah. Now, looking back on your younger self, would your younger self be, like, if he could see where you are now, what would be his reaction?
I think that I would be proud because I think I knew I was gay in the 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's when I first really realized it.
Yeah.
And so I think I would be relieved that I did all right.
Right.
And that I have a career and that didn't affect who I was with any of my friends and family for the most part. And so I think I would have some pride and relief at the same time. I know that.
Yeah.
Weird word to say relief, but I think at the time I was growing up, I was scared to death,
Right.
And if you knew in the 3rd grade, I mean, think about how many years, you're dealing with that.
Right. Did you ever think that you would live in California?
I don't know. I had come to California several times and thought I'd love to live in California, but I didn't think it would really ever happen because I loved my job in Louisville, and I loved Louisville a lot.
Right.
It's hard for me to leave there, but I certainly love being in California where at least I know there are kindred spirits more around me and supportive, liberal support, not just of the LGBT community, but just a more liberal-minded feeling around me.
Right.
Than what I would have in Kentucky.
But Fresno is still conservative. And I was sort of thinking, I was like, is there, because, you were in Virginia and then you were in Kentucky, and then you went to Fresno. Is there any reason why you sort of sought out living in, I know Louisville is maybe a little more liberal, but is there maybe a reason why you sought out living in a more a balanced or conservative area?
No, it was the job. It was the university job. And the good thing about a university job is that campus is going to be liberal most of the time.
Right. But what stopped you from moving to like a super liberal area? Because
Alex, I used to say a long, long time ago, I'm married to my career. It's relatively true. So the reason I made this move was not because I wanted to live in Fresno, not because of California. I mean, California certainly made me interested in it, but it was really a career move that I made. And had there been this job, in LA or San Francisco, of course, I would have gone there too. But this job I may have taken it if it had been in Atlanta. I mean, I think I was just really looking for a university position that I felt I would fit in with and work well in, and so that's really what it was.
Nice. Well, and I love asking this about teachers, or from teachers, but what is something that you hope that your students get out of your class beyond just, acting and memorizing lines and stage direction and all the academic work?
Well, one of the things I think that I try really, really hard to do, especially in my directing course, is to say, you all have conceptual ideas and you all have visions for what you want to do with this. And all of those are valid. Now, where I say you got to really hone your skills is to make sure that vision is supporting the script that you've chosen or is supporting the playwright's words and supporting the designers. Everything that you come up with needs to work together, needs to be cohesive. But what I do say to them is I hope they walk out realizing that they have the ability to have a vision for whatever. And if you're not going to be a theater director, that whatever you do, that you have a vision for whatever it is that you're striving for.
Right.
It's not just going to happen by, some people it happens by them being plopped in to it and they don't have to work very hard, but that's not the majority of people. No matter what kind of job you have to have a vision for it. Well, and then the word passion comes into mind too. Vision and passion, I think, are the two things I hope they walk out with.
Right. Well, awesome. Danny, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. I love ending this with, is there anything that you're obsessed with this week that brings you joy, that's helping you get through?
I think that I've been obsessed with getting out and walking, and the other thing I've been obsessed with, and Tyler will love this, is my martinis. With my martinis, that's what I'm trying to do, is perfect the right amount of vodka, the right amount mixed with the right amount, because I do dirty vodka martinis with stepped olives, if you remember mine. So I'm trying to decide now. I've done a little experimenting with jalapeno stuffed olives, garlic stuffed olives, and I'm just trying to figure out what I like the best and exactly how much vermouth.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. That's amazing. You're perfecting your martini. That's great. That's great. Well, Danny, thank you so much for hanging out with me and for being so open and like sharing everything that you did. It's like it's so cool to learn. You know, you think you know these things about the people that you know and love, but then you sit down and you're like, wait a minute, I actually don't know if I know this story. And now I have a record of it, so thank you.
You know, maybe we need to do a second part where we just tell the old stories that I know about Alex.
No, oh, sorry, you're cutting out, actually. That's so funny. I'm so sorry.
So many. Well, it's like the one we just shared this week about Will and Grace ending, and our moment with Will and Grace back when you were in high school, you know.
Which was what?
Well, that moment was you asked me, will you watch Will and Grace with me tonight? And I remember your mother on the sidelines giving me the eye, saying, you know, watch it with him. I will go. And she then later, when you weren't around, said, I'm going to go to bed so that it can just be a moment for you and Alex.
Oh.
He's wanting to see your response to Will and Grace. Because at that point, Alex, that show was the only show, I think, that was happening.
Yeah.
That dealt with, you know.
Well, I think there was Queer Eye for the straight guy, but that was far more, that was almost like playing into some of the stereotypes.
Right. But I remember the whole, you had already seen the episode, I think, and you just really wanted to see how I responded, but you were most interested in how I responded to Karen. So I don't know what that was saying, but you were very taken by Karen.
Oh, I loved Karen. That's what
I remember. So
yeah.
And I think for you it was a check-in. I know, because I had come out to you. I forget. You were 11, I think, when I came out to you on your patio. Do you remember that? See, these stories could go on for days, Alex.
I know, and I've got to end it here, but
I'm going to leave you two alone. I'm going to bed, and she goes to bed, and I sit on the patio with you and tell you. But you asked me. You point blank asked me, and I said, "Do you want to know the truth?"
Mm.
You said yes, and I said yes. I am it.
Wow. And what did I do?
And then you kind of sat down with me, and your mother went to bed, and we talked about other stuff. You didn't really ask about that.
Right.
But as, you know, time went on. But those are my two favorite, I think, Alex testing the gay waters, so to speak, with Uncle Danny. I think
wow.
Those are the two moments I remember the most.
Wow. Well, I may have been testing the waters back then, but we've certainly dove right in today, didn't we?
We did.
Awesome.
Good to chat with you.
Good to chat with you, and stay safe, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, we will, Alex.
Awesome. All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Quality QuaranTIME. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you next time.